Only the Board B Equality mark ensures you know where your food comes from, because it's independently checked at every stage.
I've known Mary Kennedy for a long time, and she was so lovely to me when I started cooking on television many years ago.
Now, I have to say, it's lovely to have you
too.
here in
Thank
the
you so
kitchen
much.
again. It's been so long since we've
I
seen
know,
each
it's been
other.
too long, so it has, absolutely.
And I'm cooking for you. I can't believe it.
I can see how well I've you trained. Look at all the prep you've done.
I know, yes, it's all done because there's a lot to do. What I'm going to cook for you is actually a mixture of two recipes, beef and Guinness. The first thing I would like you to do, and we can chat away, is to get these nice and small, the garlic and the onion, and I will do the mushrooms. And the reason I have chosen beef and Guinness, because both my grandfather and my uncle, they worked in Guinnesses. They were labourers in the vat room. My grandfather died in 1948, and my grandmother survived for 40 years after that, and the Guinnesses took care of her so well.
Really?
All of her medication and everything was paid for by Guinnesses, and she lived to be 102.
What?
And on her 100th birthday, they came over. Yeah.
No way,
yeah.
that's amazing. Now, that's all your onions.
Okay, well, if you work on the garlic, I will take these over and put them on the pan, because they have to be kind of sweated.
And is that the same pan you've cooked your beef
This is the
off?
pan, as you can see. It has all the juices from, but I like that.
All the flavour.
All the flavour, yeah. And then I'll put in another little bit of oil.
Good hot pan, seal it in the beef.
And a nice crackle.
So Mary, you know something about garlic I was taught? Is when garlic is going, this is a prime example, when it's going green like that, it actually gives you a cramp in your stomach, so you remove that. Yeah, it was a French chef who taught me that. And Mary, you grow a lot of herbs here, I was looking at.
I know, I've got rosemary. Rosemary is used in the marinade, and that's from the garden. Wild garlic, which I love in salads. And the little bits, the parsley, the thyme, chives.
Have the garlic here. Pass that over to you, chef. Anything else you want done?
Yeah, when you've cleaned up there, you can peel the carrots.
So Mary, do you get time to cook, as busy as you are? Because you're on the road a lot, aren't you?
On the road a lot.
And you don't mind driving, do you?
No, I quite like it. I love the... Sometimes I get into the car and I wouldn't even turn on the radio.
Really?
Yeah, I love the quietness.
So that's the carrots peeled, Mary.
Okay, and the onions are ready to go. So if you'd like to dice those, and also you need 3 sticks of celery as well to go in. And the thyme is going to go in.
Perfect.
And I'm going to do the mushrooms. What'll happen eventually then is they will all go in with the meat, which we've already done.
Gorgeous, yes.
And that was marinating overnight in Guinness, Dijon mustard, and rosemary.
You brown that off in the pan?
I brown that off in the pan and put it in there, and all the rest goes in. It's very, very simple. And it's very easy when you have somebody to help you.
It is.
Especially somebody who can chop like that.
Now, if I do the wash up too,
mind your fingers.
Oh, don't worry about that. Now, so that's the carrots ready.
Okay, and the onions are ready to go in.
Perfect. Oh, they're gorgeous.
Shove them in there.
Lovely and caramelised. And the garlic in there too. So I'll put the carrots in here too.
You can put the carrots in. They don't have any prep done to them.
Yeah.
And I will go away now and do the mushrooms. The mushrooms are done in butter.
I love celery. You know celery is beautiful in juices. Do you drink any juices at all, Mary?
My son does, Tom, because he's into the paleo and he does a lot of juicing and smoothing and all those kinds of things, And then Lucy, the youngest, she's vegan. So it's a little bit of a challenge when Lucy comes home, but never mind.
She's not beating this beef then.
No, she won't.
So that's the celery. I'll pick the thyme. I love celery. I love it in juices. When I make ever I make a juice, it's usually 3 or 4 parts vegetable, 1 part fruit.
Look, it's unbelievable the way the restaurant is going now, isn't it? And the cookery school.
Thank God. Yeah, I opened it up now just over a year ago. So we're still waiting for you to come down. Not that you need to go to the cookery school, by the way. But yeah, it's great fun. We might put this on the cookery school menu.
Well, not when I'm there, because I know how to make that.
Mary Kennedy, if that's okay. You don't mind?
Now, Neven, the mushrooms are ready. I forgot to say to you that there is a little bit of flour that goes in, so I'm just going to add that.
And of course, the flour will thicken it up, Mary, won't it?
It does. Great, Tom. I put them in now.
Yeah.
And you've put in the celery, you've put in everything.
Thyme,
ding, ding, ding,
carrots.
ding, ding, ding.
Anything else?
Okay, now it's the liquids. The stock.
Okay.
Half the can of Guinness. Use the rest of it in the marinade. And the rest of the marinade.
Lovely.
Okay. Now, they don't say to put in the sprigs of rosemary, but I don't see any reason why not to. Put in a little bit of tomato puree. Gives it a nice little colour. Okay.
Perfect. I'll stir that
You
through.
stir it. Red currant jelly. It
Sweetness.
says a teaspoon, but I think a teaspoon is very mean. So I just put in half a jar.
Like me.
Half a jar.
Half a jar.
Do you know, Neven, I cannot believe I am here cooking for you
I know.
after all the years we spent together on Open House.
Well, it makes a change. I cook for you every Tuesday.
He did. And he used to give me something to bring home for my children.
I did.
They were well fed on a Tuesday.
I hope they were.
They used to say, "What's Neven cooking today?"
Really?
Yes.
Oh my
"What's
God.
Neven
Great
cooking
memories,
today?"
absolutely. Okay.
Salt and pepper.
Super.
Okay.
So, in the oven or on top?
No, in the oven. About 165.
Yeah.
I
Hours,
usually
two
give
and
it
a half?
about 2.5 hours.
You would need that,
yeah,
wouldn't you?
yeah.
Now, I'll grab
and
that.
just before you go,
Yes.
I got this specially for today. It's my
I'll
tea
diet tomorrow.
I'll diet tomorrow. Because
love
we're
it.
not going to diet today.
Cupcakes.
So we're not.
No, but this is good. This is good healthy
That's good
food.
healthy stuff. We'll wait to see the mashed
I'll put this in.
potato.
Whoa, okay. So in the
you
oven.
get it in there.
Perfect.
I cleaned the oven specially for you.
I'm very impressed. Perfect.
So now we have to get the mashed potato.
Okay.
And this is where the diet tomorrow. I always steam them
Right.
because the water gets into them if
You're
you
right.
boil them.
So any particular potato when you're mashing
They're
them?
roosters.
Probably the most versatile potato. Now, you want butter?
Maybe we should take the cameras away when we're putting in the butter.
No way. They know, watching my programmes, how much I love butter. Do you want it more?
And a little bit of pepper. Yeah. And I use my mother's masher.
No, I'll mash. Let
will
me
you?
mash it. Yeah, of course.
This is the masher that she had all the years we were growing up. Sure, look, all the colour. It was blue.
Is that well used? Lovely floury potatoes.
Oh, I'm glad you're mashing. I hate doing the mash. I have
you?
to put a little cloth over it.
We always put now milk and a little bit of cream in towers, so we do.
Well, I had cream ready, but I was afraid to produce it.
Go on, get it. Go on, good woman. Why wouldn't you? Absolutely. I'm your guest. I love cream. Just a little bit. Everything in moderation. So you have salt and pepper in that.
Oh, isn't that gorgeous now? You see? They're really creamy, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm going to get you
Looks
to taste
good,
this.
Neven. Yeah, I will. You'll have to taste it as well.
Of course, I certainly will. Good.
That is really good. That is really good. That's like just like Mother used to make.
Oh my
It's
God,
true.
with her masher.
Yeah,
Wow, what a
I know,
woman.
it's good.
What a woman. Now, so this is ready.
That's ready. Now, all we have to do is wait for the casserole to cook, and then we will serve
Wait.
it. Okay, Neven.
Looks
to go.
good.
I
I'm very
want to
excited
see
about
what
this.
you think. So give me
Now,
that.
okay.
A little bit.
I'll hold the bowl.
Tell me how much potato you want.
Oh, I like lots. That's great.
Do you?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Look at that. Now that
And
is a hug in a
because there's
bowl.
red currant jelly in it, there's some red currants.
Beautiful.
Now, taste it and see what you think.
Here we go. We'll both taste it together.
Oh, okay. All
'Cause that's
right.
what I love. It's delicious. And that mash. God bless your mum.
And it's roasting. Neven, we have an awful lot of food.
We have.
And I have a lot of family and friends who came because they're huge fans of Neven Maguire, so will we feed them?
But you've done the cooking. Of course we will feed them. Come on, guys. Roll
Come on
up.
up.
Here we go. Get a knife and fork.
Take some red currants.
Oh, very important.
Do you know Tom?
Tom, of course.
My
Good to see
son,
you again.
Tom.
How are you? You well? Good man. Here we go.
you
Showing
go.
you're well used to your mum's cooking.
Now,
Thank you.
Julie taking time out from her Leaving Cert studies.
Does it help you with your
And Mum Kathleen.
studies? Happy to see you, Kathleen.
She's a fabulous cake
Is she?
maker.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
My God.
You know Eva.
Eve, of course
My
I do.
daughter.
The portions are getting smaller.
Owen, my son. The only one who's
Yeah.
not here is Lucy, and if she could come home from Australia, she would. And this is Benny, his
Benny.
boyfriend. Makes all your recipes.
Really? Enjoy
Enjoy that. There you
We're going to
go.
come out and join you now.
Yes, we are.
Mary, thank you so much for being a home chef.
Not
It is
at
so
all.
nice
It
to
was-
see you.
It's so nice to see you
Oh,
again,
you're the best.
Neven.
You're
Really
such a lady.
enjoyed this.
Look for the Board Beer quality mark, because it looks after you. look for the Board Beer quality mark, because it looks after you.
My uncle Frankie Maguire is a cattle dealer, but despite that, I've never actually been to a mart. Considering the amount of beef I serve in the restaurant, it's time I visited one. This is the Mart in Bandon, and after a long day of buying and selling, the restaurant is a popular place, filling up as soon as the auction ends. This is good hearty food for people with good hearty appetites. What do you recommend?
I have lovely bacon, beef.
Thank you, I love the beef. Yeah, absolutely. And maybe a wee slice of lamb.
Taste of everything.
I have a good hearty appetite. You have a busy spot here now when it's full?
Will I put everything on it for you, Neven?
Yeah, please, absolutely, yeah.
Now.
That looks fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
Delicious.
Bye.
Dan, this is a very busy place. Tell me how many meals you've cooked today.
Approximately today now we'd have about 150 meals. You know, it varies this time of year, it's a little more busier, and in the winter it goes quiet, and spring it kicks off back up again.
And would that be breakfast, lunch and dinner, or how does it work?
Yeah, in this time of year again, breakfast will be quieter, but big lunches, because in the spring it's a lot of calf, and it's all in the morning, early sales, the sale is later in the evening, so it's mostly lunches now this time of the year.
Do you change your menu regularly?
We would have the 5 main menus, like we'd have the beef, the bacon, the turkey, pork, lamb, and then we'd have specials every day, whatever the chef decides to up. Like we could have a beef lasagna, today we have a beef burger, and you know, we'd have a pasta, or it depends on the season, whether warm chicken salads, and it varies a lot.
What's the most popular item on the menu here, Dan?
Roast beef would be the most popular one, yeah, followed by bacon, and then followed by turkey.
Turkey.
And then we'd have the rest of the ones spread out evenly longer.
What cut of beef do you use now when you're roasting?
All topside.
Tell me how you cook that now.
We would just roast it in the morning at about 170 to 180 degrees. We'd roast it, depends on the size. We'd bring it up to about 72, 74 degrees, and then we'd let it rest for about 45 minutes to an hour.
And that is a secret to resting, isn't it?
That is the secret. You have to let it rest. If you don't let it rest, it's very difficult then. But
I have a sweet tooth, but I noticed some nice desserts. Apple crumble, what else?
have a crumble, we'd have a banoffee, we'd have a lemon cheesecake. We'd usually have a sherry trifle, this would be always a big favourite here, or we'd have a raspberry roulade, you know, and they vary as well.
No wonder you have a full house every Monday.
Yeah.
They're well fed.
They're well
Dan,
fed.
it's lovely to meet you.
I do too.
Thank you for being at home, chef.
All right.
Thank you, my friend. After visiting the mart, I thought it'd be appropriate to cook a succulent steak. Before I cook the steak, I'm going to show you 2 accompaniments to serve with any kind of steak. It's absolutely fabulous. Roast garlic mash and some kale with chorizo and some almonds. For the roast garlic mash, I have my potatoes cooked, but I want to just crush the garlic here. We've infused it in the milk. Another way of cooking garlic is by roasting it in the oven for about 40 minutes, wrap it in tin foil with the skin on, and then it gets really soft and mushy, really, really sweet, and you can just put that in. So when you've crushed the garlic, you can just switch it off, and then we're just going to press our potatoes through a potato ricer. If you want a lump-free mashed potato, this is what you do. Steam your potatoes, or you can boil them. So we cut them into quarters, and then just put them into the potato ricer. A piece of equipment that we use in the restaurant is called a moulie, and it's a large potato ricer. Squeeze this here, they come out like little spaghetti. Perfect. So when the potatoes are riced, stir in some of this garlic milk and a little bit of butter. Stir this through. So there's no lumps in this. I don't want it too soft or too sloppy. I want to keep the potatoes warm, put the lid on, and that's one of the accompaniments ready. The next one is the kale. This is just your curly kale. The one we use in the restaurant is Russian kale or a Tuscan kale. We're going to put some chorizo into it, an Irish chorizo from Gubin Smokehouse, and some almonds. And the almonds are blanched, so there's no skin on the almonds. Kale, we sometimes wilt with a little bit of stock and butter in the restaurant, but you can cook it many different ways. Stir fry it, and I'm going to just cook it in a pot. A little bit of oil, half of the chorizo, and get the pot nice and hot. Nice chunks in there. Put some of the almonds in together. So you're combining all the flavours in there. Using a slotted spoon, let this just cook out for a minute or 2. So while that's kind of toasting out and getting the lovely flavours going, we can start to prepare the kale. Don't cut it too small. We've just washed the kale. I think that's loads because I'm only going to cook 1 steak. Now I can smell the smokiness from the smoked paprika. I'm just going to drain it off, using the slotted spoon, a little bit of kitchen paper. What's come out of the chorizo is that beautiful oil. And that's when I'm going to cook the kale in. A little bit of butter. And then we just get this, couldn't be easier. As soon as the kale hits the pot pan, it begins to crackle. This is a really good tip. You call steam frying. just a spoonful of water, or you can use stock, it doesn't matter. In the restaurant we use vegetable stock. And then you're wilting this, so you're keeping the colour and all the nutrients in the kale. Put a little bit of salt and a little bit of black pepper. In goes your chorizo and your almonds. Cook everything through. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic into this, but you can leave it out because I have garlic in the mash. Some people love garlic, some people don't. Right, I'm happy with that. I don't want it to overcook. So now the star of the show is the strip loin of quality assured Irish beef. And this is dry aged for a minimum of 21 days. We have great beef in Ireland, some of the best in the world. Bring it to room temperature. I'm going to show you a lovely crust. On a dry pan, toast some white peppercorns, turn up the heat, and some black peppercorns. Give it a little shake. So this is like your classic peppered steak, so it is, with the lovely crust on your beef. And then this is the fun part, making sure they all go into the pestle and mortar. So just take your time. And you'll find when you're toasting them, the fumes from the actual toasted peppercorns can catch in the back of the throat. So just be careful. Now I think when you toast them, it releases their wonderful flavour from the white and the black peppercorns. Wonderful sweet flavour from them, and hot too. So sprinkle this onto the plate, a little bit of oil onto the pan, a little bit of salt. So you always season meat before you cook it. And then you just simply lift it and press this crust. Salt on the other side. And then what I want to do is make sure it's completely coated. Okay, we're going to cook this really hot pan for a couple of minutes either side. That's what you want to hear, that beautiful sizzle. Tiny wee bit of butter into the pan, which will give the most wonderful colour and flavour. And then after handling raw meat, I'm just going to wash my hands. So what I've done is I've seared the steak, really, really hot pan. And that is so important because you're keeping all the juices in this succulent piece of meat. Flip it over. Try this crust with lamb cutlets, pork chops, or even chicken breast. It's wonderful, so it is. Nowadays, every supermarket has dry-aged steak, and it's a minimum of 21 to 28 days. It's vacuumed in the supermarkets, and that will keep the succulence in the meat. I'm happy with this now. I'm going to serve it nice and pink, just on a tray. We're going to place it into the oven at 100 degrees. This is going to let it rest and cook through, so it's not going to overcook at 100 degrees, but it's going to keep warm. So while that's in the oven, let's make a very quick sauce. We're using some shallot for the base of the sauce. Green peppercorns, which are soaked in a brine. Let these sweat off for a moment. So you have all the juices from the beef, all the flavours in there. We're going to put in some whiskey. Don't worry, not all the bottle, just a good splash. Stand back when you do this, and we're going to flambe this. Hold it aside. Voila. You got to be careful. If you're looking over the pan, you've lost your eyebrows, so you've got to be really, really careful. What you've done is you've intensified the flavour of the whiskey but cooked off the alcohol. Worcester sauce, I love this with steak. Plenty of this here. A little bit of stock, beef stock. Stir this through. Let this come to the boil here. Look at how rich and dark that is. So now I'm going to add in some cream, and this is just whipping cream I'm using here, just to enrich it. So you bring this to the boil here. A little touch of some mustard, works really well with steak. A pinch of salt, and then, you guessed it, more black pepper, just to give it a nice little bit of a kick there. Mix through the mustard, and then you need to taste it. So you should get the Worcester, the peppercorns, the shallot, everything should work really well. Wow, it's really good. Delicious. So I don't want it to reduce too much. It's more or less ready now. Let's turn it to simmer, and then we just heat everything up again. The kale with the chorizo and the almonds, and then our potato. The steak. It's succulent, it should be really tender and really, really delicious. So place this over to the side. If there's a little bit of juice, don't waste it. I know it's only a teaspoon, but it does add flavour. And then get our garnish. So our kale first. So pile it up nice and high, and don't forget about the almonds and the chorizo. Then our potato. If you want it to be really fancy, you can put it into a piping bag. But what we do sometimes, I'll show you how to make a very quick quenelle. Just using 2 large spoons here. Put this to the side. So the last thing I'm going to do is just sauce up the steak. So I don't want to cover the beautiful piece of meat. What I like to do is just spoon it at the bottom of the meat. You can put in a gravy jug or a little sauce boat, let everyone help themselves. That's a beautiful way of cooking our wonderful beef. That's the peppered strip loin steak with whiskey sauce, garlic mash, kale and chorizo. Parfaits are a wonderful dessert to make because you can make them well ahead. In the restaurant, we always have some variety of a parfait on, and they're always very, very popular. So the difference in a parfait and an ice cream is really the process, how you make it. They both have eggs, they both have cream, but this one is made with a hot sugar syrup. So what I have in the saucepan is some sugar and water, and it's coming up to about 120 degrees, which is called softball. So that's ready to come off. I've been cooking that for about 15 minutes. So caster sugar and some water, that's all that I've in there. Sugar thermometer is definitely a great investment to have. 3 egg yolks, and I'm going to whisk them up for a moment, and then we're going to add in the sugar syrup. Now this will cook the actual egg, so it will. So turn it up. And just hold this just at the side of the glass bowl, and just slowly pour it in. Let it run off. It's extremely hot. At this stage, you can add in the likes of vanilla pod, scrape out the seeds. You can add in different spices. Cinnamon works well. So I'm just going to let that beat and cool down for a good 5 to 6 minutes. So after 5 minutes, it should be thick and creamy and cool slightly, which is perfect. Now I'm going to add my flavourings. And what I'm going to add is some peanut butter. And I love peanut butter in a parfait. It's just wonderful with chocolate. 2 spoonfuls of this. This is the smooth peanut butter, but you can put in the likes of praline, which is toasted hazelnuts, done with a caramel, not unlike what I did earlier on for the parfait, but you cook the sugar more. So when you mix the peanut butter, it thickens it. Nice and thick. I have my cream already whipped to soft peaks. Put in a little bit of cream at a time, and then just mix this through. Another parfait I love is some raspberry and white chocolate. So what I do is I get some raspberries, and what I do is I puree them and stir in some white chocolate. So I'm just going to use a balloon whisk. It makes it a little bit easier. And then the last of the cream. Parfaits are great because they keep in your freezer, and you can keep them for up to 4 to 5 days. Perfect. So now you got to taste it, just to make sure you have enough peanut butter. I love that flavour, absolutely. So I'm just going to get a large spoon, and I'm going to start to fill the moulds here. So this mixture should get about 6. It really depends on the size of the mould that I'm using. Just with a palette knife, spread this over just to give it a nice finish. Just a small little palette knife. So at this stage, they need to go into the freezer to set, if you can, overnight, or at least for about 4 to 5 hours. So I have some already made. And these on their own are good enough to serve with some chocolate sauce, a little bit of sweetened cream called cream chantilly, or even some roast bananas. They are just beautiful on their own. But I'm going to show you the way we serve them in the restaurant. So the first thing, we're going to build it. We're going to use a little bit of creme anglaise. Just a little swirl in a squeezy bottle. This dessert is all about texture, and it's one of our signature desserts in the restaurant. Some shortbread. It sits at the bottom. Now we're going to unmold the parfait. And it should just pop out. That's what these silicone molds are really easy. Look at how easy is that. You have a lovely little dome shape. Put a little dot of the creme anglaise like this. That sits on top. The next stage of this is getting some brandy snap. So what we do is get brandy snap mixture, roll it out, bake it, and then we cut it out with a cutter so it's a perfect shape. So that's going to be a really lovely crunch element. Next thing, chocolate. And I think chocolate and peanut goes really well. This is a chocolate mousse. How we make this in the restaurant, by whisking eggs, full eggs, with some melted chocolate and whipped cream. That's it. We put in a liqueur called Cool Swan. So a generous scoop of this. I love the silkiness of it. There's no gelatin in this mousse. It's a very, very simple chocolate mousse. Next thing is these chocolate domes. How gorgeous are they? So what you do is temper or melt chocolate until it's a proper temperature into a little mold like that. We actually get these from a company called Odeus Foods, and the chocolate is Valrhona. It's the best, so it is. So look at the shine, it's absolutely fabulous. Sit this on top, and there you have it. So the surprise is the chocolate mousse and also the parfait. But we're not finished yet. The last element is serving the chocolate sauce. So you've got to have the chocolate sauce, which is made with sugar, water, some cocoa powder, and some good quality Couverture chocolate. Pour it into a little dish like this. So in the restaurant, when this goes out to the table, the customer gets the parfait like this, and then some of the serving staff, they just pour this over and just watch what happens. It begins to melt in front of your eyes. The smell is absolutely heavenly. Now, you don't have to try all these elements, but please try the parfait. It's really quick and easy to make, and all your friends will be impressed.